Good evening and welcome, Rutherford County School Board. Our first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'll get the honors tonight. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Tonight's purpose, of course, is our last look at the budget before we meet tomorrow night with Health and Ed and the County Budget Committee and us, our staff, their staff. By the way, that meeting, remember, is 5:30, not 5 o'clock, 5:30 tomorrow. Number 3 is budget amendments, and Mrs. Sandvig or Mr. Odom.
With them and
okay.
Read it. As you look at the whole fund, you do have another printed copy, of course, line item by line item, and the primary difference has been additional revenue. BEP estimates have gone up. Tonight, we're looking at some of the amendments. He did move a few things around. We're far enough along now that retirements or other things, some of your numbers change a little bit with some personnel, but not major changes in what you've been seeing. We did talk about tonight, he doesn't have as many of the general purpose fund amendments yet. Some sales tax, while there's a general sales tax for the county that's come through, but Mr. Sandvig and I talked today, we don't have it all divided yet. So there'll be some more changes for that, and so there's still going to be the general fund, general purpose for school fund amendments that'll still have to come forward when we kind of get those final numbers, I think.
I will have 3 or 4 of those, and the revenue one will be major. It's too early to do it.
Okay, so the first one, number 3A, is the centralized cafeteria fund, which is 143. This is the annual cleanup amendment for the centralized cafeteria fund, 143. The amendment budgets $145,000 in additional net revenues and an additional $145,000 in net expenditures. Each year, this budget is approved before we have the federal meal reimbursement rates for the next year. Our goal with this fund is to maintain 3 months of operating funds and keep the program funded with current revenues. And the 3 months is the guidelines that the food service federal program suggests. Recommend approval to amend the centralized cafeteria fund 143 by a net increase in revenues of $145,000 and an offset increase of $145,000 in net expenditures as presented.
Any questions, comments, or a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Blair has moved for adoption. Ms. Moore, thank you for the second. Any comments, discussion whatsoever on this one? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Part B.
B is Capital Projects Fund 177. This is some of the things that Mr. Clardy does. This is an annual cleanup amendment for the Capital Projects Fund number 177. The amendment budgets $86,545 in additional net revenue, $4,545 in additional trustees commission, and increases the committed for capital projects account by $82,000. Recommended motion is to amend the Capital Projects Fund 177 and increase additional net revenues by $86,545. In additional net revenue, increase the Trustees Commission by $4,545, and to increase the committed for capital projects account by $82,000 as presented.
Questions or comments? It's pretty much a general housekeeping amendment right here, isn't it? Need a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Holliday, thank you. A second. Mr. Estes, thank you. Any comments, questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Number 4.
Number 4 is an update on the 2017-18 budgets. A special education teaching position has been reclassified to a speech and language position, which is indexed. And so that is a change in the different line items. 2017-18 expenditures are projected at $364,221,644, and the revenues are projected at $357,356,112. This shortfall would be supplemented by using $6,865,532 from unassigned ending fund balance. We used $6,200,843 from ending fund balance to fund the 2016-17 GPS budget. Now, what happens very often, you add additional EAs and that sort of thing that work with individual students, or you have high-cost situations that come in. Will there be any more, you think, come in from federal for cover some of that high cost that we don't know yet?
You don't know until early the next school year.
Okay, so
Never know that.
typically there is some more that comes, but you don't know at this point what it is, so you're trying to balance. Recommended motion is to approve the 2017-18 General Purpose School Fund budget expenditures of $364,221,644 with projected revenues at $357,356,112 and the $6,865,532 shortfall covered by using unassigned ending fund balance as presented.
Second.
Mr. Hodge, was that you? Thank you. Mr. Holliday, thank you for the second. Any questions here? This is, of course, the big one. And we're ready to go tomorrow night with this, so. Okay, we'll have another chance to look at it here in a minute, I guess, if you want to. But if there are no further comments on this, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Number 5.
Number 5 is other financial matters. This is Cafeteria Fund 143. This is the cash banks for 2017-18 school year. The centralized Cafeteria Fund 143 petty cash, cash on hand, amounts for each school nutrition location are currently approved for $11,880 for the sole purpose of making change. An additional $120 is needed in the 2017-2018 school year for the new Rocky Fork Middle School cafeteria, increasing the total petty cash amount to $12,000. Recommend motion is to increase the centralized Cafeteria Fund 143 petty cash on hand by $120 for the new Rocky Fork Middle School cafeteria to $12,000.
So moved.
Mr. Blair, thank you. A second?
Second.
Mr. Holliday, thank you for the second. Any comment? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Mr. Salmon, do you see anything on your attached, the other two attached spreadsheets that you want to draw their attention to, particularly tonight?
Don't really. The only reason I did the capital projects amendment was we're probably going to run out of trustees commission. And since that's a standalone item, it would be an audit finding. The only reason we did that one, otherwise we just let it go to fund balance. And the cafeteria fund, again, it's just very routine. Look and see where we are at this point this year to where we were last year. Look at the budget, routine cleanup amendment. And I will, since we're talking the cafeteria fund, you'll notice I took some money out of the supervisor director line, about a third of the way down the page. Y'all remember from an earlier meeting this year, we're kind of beefing up. Mr. Fred Blair is probably not going to stick around with us too much longer, starting a transition, and we did not fill the assistant director position this year, but we will be filling that this fall, be bringing you a job description and all that as part of that transition and preparing for that changeover. He's done a great job for us. I hope he'll decide to stick around a little bit longer, but we'll see there. And then the other, an issue that came up last week, which nothing is addressed in here, but we are looking at discussing the pros and cons. Steve Solomon met with a consultant. The ransomware the weekend before this past weekend, all that. Looking at our network structure, we really haven't done major reconfigurations of it since we were a noticeably smaller system. And we might be bringing forward an amendment and a motion to try to bring some consultants in and try to restructure that for where we are now in the next few years. That's just something that's come up for discussion. And then also there's another level of network protection software product that, again, we might be trying to get in place this summer. And by the time we can do July purchase orders, it's real close to school, so we may be looking at some amendments there in one of our next meetings. Just wanting to let you know that we're discussing the pros and cons of some of this. You may see nothing, or you may see an amendment and a contract services proposal, but we'll bring anything back to you all, of course.
Mr. Solomon spoke with you. He works for Mr. Clardy, director, so he's spoken with you about some of the consulting too, hasn't he?
Yes, we've discussed this, and we're not too smart, but we're smart enough to know that when we need some help.
It's valuable.
We have 25,000 computers in the system. Cafeterias, every classroom, all the teachers, here at central office, labs. We have a tremendous potential for issues.
We're upgrading to all Windows 10s, as long as the machine can handle it. That'll be a change going on over the summer. Some of them were 7, most of them were actually Windows 7, I guess. Talking about going up to Windows 10. Of course, what happens with Microsoft, after a number of years, they stopped supporting patches for it. And that was one of the issues with the ransomware the other day. If people had not added their patch earlier, then Microsoft, opened it back up so people who had Windows 7 could come in and apply that patch. And so far, we have not had an issue with that particular ransomware in our system.
One of the issues is we just have so many parts and pieces that we're trying to mesh together, and some of them do not allow for the automatic updates. So it's just very tough to get everything consolidated and get it protected because there's so many parts of it.
While you're speaking, you may want to address this. We discussed about some possible change with Rockville High opening bids because of some amendments and changes. You want to kind of bring that up at this time?
We had an addendum that went out late on Friday, and it was fairly massive. And then we have another one that will be going out. That was addendum 1, and addendum 2 should be going out tomorrow. So we had some requests from 3 of the contractors to extend that, so we decided to extend it a week from this Thursday to the following Thursday. We felt like that would give everyone an equal opportunity and a fair chance to look at it, and it might also help the pricing on the project instead of just throwing a number at or a figure at the issues we're having.
June 1st then, right?
I think it's first.
I think the remainder, most of it is really your line items, and you've had this for a while and changed anything?
I made a very few small tweaks to line items, rearranged non-labor, non-benefit items in some areas, but it was minor. I was going to make a few more today, and I decided it was 6 of one, half dozen of the other, left some of them alone. It was just too minor to bother with.
We're still working towards trying to get line items and amounts in for this report by school that the state's going to be doing based on ESSA. And again, I've voiced it before. I have some concerns there. Is it going to provide more information? Yes, it is, but talking with Ms. Pilgrim today, for example, if your school has extra CTE courses where the ratio is 1 to 20, when this is published, you might show, oh, you're spending more for students in this school. Or if your school has extra English language learner students, and you have to have additional teachers there or special ed, then it's going to appear to the public that you're spending more money, maybe at this school on a per student than you are another one, and it may just simply be meeting regulations. So while it's going to provide additional information, my opinion is it's confusing information. people, we're gonna have to do some education to help people understand it.
Board? So you're looking through the paperwork, which and very few changes there from the last one we've gotten. Just a gentle reminder on my part. We have, as far as I know, I haven't checked Washington lately, but I think we have freedom of speech in this country, as far as I know. But really, tomorrow night is the director and Mr. Sandvik's time to speak. And if we have some changes or some questions or things that we need to talk about, tonight's the night for us, really, even though we'll be here to answer questions, perhaps, if there are any. And to help in any way that we possibly can. They're going to present this to the Health and Ed, and of course the County Budget Committee is here if they have questions, but they're here mainly so that the director and Mr. Sandvik don't have to go back up there and present it to them again in full, which of course you will be on site, but they will have already had a week or so to look at it. That's the purpose and why it's a joint meeting.
They have actually had copies of the line item, that some of the earlier drafts that you've had. And tomorrow night, another thing that we'll do is go back. You remember the sheets that we kind of started with? This is what we're adding this year, kind of that big overview as we talk to them about some changes and things that have been added. So that's kind of our plan tomorrow night.
Are we going to put the drawings and whatnot back up? Okay.
We have 11 projects that are either in progress or in the pipeline, so they'll all be sitting here tomorrow night.
I hope they take the time to look those over. I imagine they probably will. Is there anything else on the budget board that you want to address at this time?
2% still there.
Okay.
Same.
Okay.
I'd just like to express that I really, it was emphasized as we went through graduations this year, but our county is really on a threshold here of we have done incredibly well spending very, very frugally. We've been very modest in our expenditures, and there are some things like our STEM programs into the middle schools, the robotics programs. There's some things where investments in career and technical, investments in facilities, investments in our people, in our assistant principals. There are some things here where we are now moving beyond competing with other systems in the state of Tennessee, and we are firmly competing among the best systems in the nation. And as we benchmark our budget and we think about these expenditures and such, there are ways that we compare to the rest of the state and we say, look, $1,000 less per pupil and things like that. Very soon we're going to need to benchmark to the rest of the nation and take a look at our expenditures and our investment, because the academic performance that our students are achieving and that our faculties are inspiring are just extraordinary. And we really, I feel, need to express to our county commission, take pride in the fact that we set out on a course to move beyond just the best in the state of Tennessee and competing among the best in the nation. And that's where we are. And that's what we're accomplishing. And that's what we need them to continue to invest in.
No further comments. I got just a couple of things here real quick. First of all, Dr. Sullivan was and Mr. Cartwright were on the WGNS action line this morning. They both did an excellent job. I know that I went to 3 graduations. I think most of you went to more than that. And I haven't talked to each of you about everything that may or may not have happened, but I thought that really it was just inspiring, is what it was to me. I don't know how you all felt about it, but from Stewart's Creek to Central, I mean, I had a great time, and deeply appreciate the chocolate chip cookies as well. But don't tell my wife. One other thing, two other things. First of all, we've got at least 4 teams that I'm aware of, and we may have some tennis and track. I'm sure we do. I'm not that familiar with them, but I do know we have some other teams in spring fling. The track started today. All 4 of our teams play at some point tomorrow, and in baseball and in soccer, and I wish them the very best, and I know that you do as well. Tomorrow night will be a 5:30 meeting, and I suggest you be here a few minutes early and meet the commissioners, but you always are, so I won't even suggest it. If there's nothing else, I intend to bang this gavel down here in just about 3 seconds. Anything else? We are adjourned. Thank you so much.